Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Palestine Chronicle TV. We have a number of special guests today, all coming from the organization Human Rights Defenders of Hebron. Many of you already know who the Human Rights Defenders are and the incredible work that they do on the ground. We quite often in our community talk about direct action. Well, if you truly want to see direct action, that's what these guys do, and they do it on a daily basis, and they take a great deal of risk doing it as well. I'm going to bring my guests here. First, I'm going to start with Flora Thomas from London. Hello, Flora.
Hi.
Hi. I also have Badee Dwaik from Hebron. مرحبا بديع.
مرحبتين. مساء الخير للجميع. Good evening for everybody.
Good evening, Badee. And I also have Raghad Neiroukh. I believe you are also based in Khalil, Raghad. Although I think that you are muted. If you could unmute yourself.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm from Hebron.
You are from Hebron. Well, how come you have better connection than Badee, even though both of you are based in Hebron?
We have to solve the infrastructure here, maybe.
I can imagine. Okay.
Maybe the company, because not all the companies have the same.
You know, but to get us started here by giving our listeners, our viewers, a brief idea about who are the human rights defenders, when were you established, and what is your objectives?
Okay, good evening for everybody, and thank you for hosting us and to give us this is a good chance to talk with the people and to educate them about the situation of Hebron and about our work as well. So the definition of a human rights defenders organization, that we are a Palestinian nation, non-partisan group. We are aims to document the humiliation violence of Israeli occupation and to expose it, and also to educate people about how to use the cameras, and also to give them some skills about the law, international law and Israel law as well, so the people be aware about what they are doing. And also to empower the Palestinians committees, especially those Palestinian families who are actually, they are living in the closures areas and that have a very special rules, which is Israeli occupation applied against them, to filtrate them and to make their life very hard in order to dismiss them from area from this era by the policy, which is we are call it the silence policy, by pushing them to leave their houses and their places. And also part of our empowering the committee, that also we offer many of things for the people, like we are organized for them, like English courses, Hebrew courses. We also educate many people about how to use the cameras, give them trainings about use cameras, and also about editing, how to collect videos and to make them in short video. And also sometimes we are bring international people, organizations, and also delegations to come to visit. This is Palestinian families, in order that to give the feeling for those families they are not isolated and they're not alone. And sometimes we arrange for we have also a program which is homestay program that we arrange for those people who want to stay with families or to stay in Hebron. So we arrange for them to stay with the families in order to support the family.
Let me stop you there, Badee, because of you were talking about international solidarity. You want to send a message to the people that they are not alone in this, they are not isolated as it may seem, and to give space for international solidarity and for people like Flora Thomas. Hi, Flora. So
Hi.
how did you learn about the organization? How did you decide to get involved? And why?
So I met Badee when I was in Khalil working with a different organization. And through Badee and Ahmed, I learnt about human rights defenders. And that's when I realized and found out for the first time about the amazingly important work they do. And so I immediately wanted to join. and Badee very kindly let me.
And how long have you been involved with human rights defenders?
For the last 3 years.
3 years. So can you like walk us through what type of work that you actually do? Like you know, you are an activist who translates the word solidarity to something meaningful on the ground. And I'm sure that many people will be watching this video and they will try to understand, you know, what, you know, because we get asked this question quite often. What can we do? People feel sometimes quite, you know, helpless in this situation. So tell us, what is it that you are doing, and what that, you know, and how can that actually help other activists who want to contribute directly to the people on the ground?
Well, of course, going to the West Bank and seeing for yourself what is happening is something I feel you cannot really understand fully until you see it yourself, and working with local groups like human rights defenders to be a international presence and to you know, help out, be an extra pair of hands. And with human rights defenders, I also help with translation, writing, admin, and yeah, just general. The work, of course, is different every day, but I definitely think, of course, there's lots we can do from home, but to be on the ground is a different aspect of that work.
And just briefly, Flora, if you could give us an example of how your work throughout these 3 years like change things in a tangible way, things that you can tell us, you know, this is really direct outcome of the type of work that I am doing, and it would have not been possible if I did not get involved directly.
Well, of course, a lot of the work, because human rights defenders are based throughout Hebron, and they are Palestinian citizens who have access, you know, they know everybody, they know what's going on. As an international, we can't have the same level of understanding and of sort of knowing what is going on where. But to support a group like human rights defenders with things such as with English translation, disseminating news, and being a support sort of backstage in a way to support them so they can do the important work they do on the ground as well, is an important point.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Flora. And I'm going to move to Raghad here. Otherwise, we could lose her connection again. We struggled a little bit this morning. Raghad, tell us, you've been involved with the human rights defenders for some time now, and what type of work that you do, and also it's important to tell our viewers here that you are a TV and radio presenter, so you kind of come from a professional media background. You know, tell us a little bit about this, and how do people in the media can also be activists on the ground and make a difference in people's lives?
Well, basically, I am a feminist, being a radio and TV presenter. I took through my project about Palestinian news, focusing on Israeli daily news, focusing about their attacks and violating on Palestinian lands and against Palestinian people. Also, I'm focusing on my programs about empowering women and enhancing their roles in the societies, discussing the obstacles they face, whether from society, whether from the occupation. Also, actually, I have met Ahmed and Badee through a documentary film. I'm working on a documentary film that focuses on the destructive economy in the old city of Hebron due Israeli policies because of the closures in direct way or in another ways, because of military closing or like the attacks against people who live in the old city. Actually, they helped me and supported me by some videos that they show the violation against people who live in the old cities. Also, I have interviewed in my film many people from the old city who talk about the real life there in order to convey the message to people here and to people all around the world. Actually, I also translated the film, and I'm going to finish the documentary film. I have been working on it months on this film in order to show like the violation and the attacks against Palestinian people, especially in
I
the old
think,
city
Raghad,
where
sorry to
Badee
interrupt
and
you, but I think you are kind of solving a big moral question for many journalists, because here in the West, there's this notion that in order for you to be a professional journalist, you have to be objective, and that usually applies to, you don't need to take a moral stance in the situation which you report, and for you this is hogwash. It doesn't matter. What really matters is the people who are disaffected, the people who are suffering, the people who have a voice, but that voice is being muted. They are allowed. You are their vehicle to take their struggle and their voice to the rest of the world. Now, do you feel like there's been a degree of success, in this field? Have you been your documentaries, your work, your programs? Do they have enough listenership and viewership that you feel like the work is indeed effective and justified?
actually the effect people care about what is going on, what happens, especially let's say about the locally, not international. About local, people would like to know what is going on in Palestine, what happens if there is a confrontation between people and between Israeli soldiers. If there is a new arrest there in Palestine, they would like to know every new details that is going on, whether between Israeli and Palestinian. Also about annexation. The last time annexation, as Netanyahu has declared that they are going to do the annexation of valleys of Jordan and the settlements of some parts of the West Bank, and that is illegal. After 1976, there was an agreement between Israel and Palestinian. So Israel violates this agreement by annexation. So annexation is illegal. People are interest about and they are afraid about annexation. So like there is many reaction, or Israel are afraid of reaction, of Palestinian reaction, and some Palestinians started to go to confront Israelis.
Okay.
They started to protest, they
I'm just
started to confront with the
take
students.
it back to Badee, Raghad, if you don't mind, because I want to ask Badee about why is Hebron different? I mean, we know Al Khalil is always been kind of exceptional in terms of the relationship between the settlers, the illegal Jewish settlers, the Israeli army, and the Palestinians. It's a unique situation within Palestine. And this is why human rights defenders exist, to deal with the uniqueness of that situation. Why is Hebron different? If you could just tell our viewers about the settlements and their locations and the daily behavior of the settlers, and that why is that a major issue for Palestinians in that city?
First of all, let's say that the two worst places in Palestine, that is Gaza and Hebron. And what is the difference in Hebron? Hebron is the worst situation in West Bank, and you consider Hebron as a micro example when we will talk about the whole situation in Palestine. So Hebron is like a very powerful example to use it to talk about all the humiliation, violence, and also discrimination and apartheid that Israeli occupation applied in Hebron. First, because Hebron itself is being split and become two parts. One, they call it H1 and H2 area. And also Hebron, there are settlers living in the heart of the cities, and part of the city is converted and confiscated and converted to be a Jewish neighborhood. And we have like about 5 buildings, and 4 of these buildings is a settlement, which is located in the heart of the city. And that means, especially after the Abraham massacre, despite of we are the people who have been killed in this massacre and we are the victims, Israelis are punished. They decided to punish the victims, and that the massacre didn't finish in that date. The massacre is still running in our life and is still continue in different forms. And one of these forms that Israeli occupation have been split the Ibrahim Mosque itself and converted part of it for the first time in the history to be a synagogue for the Jews. And also they are announced many of areas in Hebron, in the heart of Hebron, as a military zone areas for the Palestinians, which is not allowed for the Palestinians to use these places or to live there. For example, Shuhada Street, which is we talked about 1 kilometer street. That street, it's been linked the north of part of Hebron with the south part of Hebron. After the Israeli occupation, announced the street is a military through the street. The Palestinians not able to have or to exist any life there in the street. And we are not just talking about the street itself. We are talking about a life it's been running in the street. You can consider the street like the mind and the body, because this street used to be represent the economical and also the commercial and the business for the Palestinians.
And this street is now shut down, yeah?
Now it's shut down, not allowed for us. If we decided to challenge and to walk in, so we will be arrested. And I have many experience. I have been tried to walk in the street and have been arrested. And also, at the same time, there are no any signs for the people who come from abroad to tell them this street, it's shut down and it's about, because they didn't want to confirm by themselves this is an apartheid street. But what they are doing, what is going on in the reality and in the ground, this is the street Palestinians not able to walk, not to allow for them to open their shops. We are talking about 1,800 shops. They are closed and announced as a military, not allowed for those shops, 1,800 to open. And most of those shops exist in Shuhada Street itself. We talk about 1,300 shops in the Shuhada Street and about like 520 shops located in different places like the Shalala area, the Golden Market, which is used to be the Golden Market, and also some other shops which is located under the settlement, which is settlements being Palestinian building and take over by the settlers, like Beit Hadassah, which is used to be a clinic center, and the settlers being took it over about 1979, and then they are forced to be a settlement, and also Beit Romano settlement, which is used to be a Palestinian school, and this is school called Osama bin Munqidh. The settlers have been took it over about 1980, and also the wholesale market, which is used to be the wholesale market and vegetable markets, which is took over, and they are also built a settlement there, what they call it Abraham Abino settlement. And also Tel Ermeda settlement, which is the settlers, they call it Ramat Yashai settlement. And this is settlement, it's been also took over, and the land there took over about 1984. So that's why the situation in Hebron.
Just for our viewers to know, Hebron is, we know that the West Bank is divided to area A, B, and C. Where is Hebron located in this mess?
So we have all. We have A, we have B, and we have C, and the another division which is not happened in other cities, that Hebron itself, the city. We are talking about the city, not the Hebron district. We just talk about the city itself. Hebron city itself being divided for two parts. Part they call it H1, which is supposed to be under the Palestinian control, supposed to be. And you can watch a lot of videos, hundreds of videos, when the soldiers, they are invaded this is area and they shoot tear gas, sans bomb, and Flora, she was one of the people who have been witness that and see it in her life when she was also working here towards the human rights situation for the Palestinians. And H2 area, which is the area which is under the Israeli control, directly control, according to this is agreement, which is called Hebron Protocol. And there in this area concentrated the settlements, settlers, and the military base, also the checkpoints and electronic checkpoints, earth mounds, closed roads, closures area. So we are talking in Hebron about 111 military checkpoints and closed roads and electronic gates and so on. And most of it, about 60 military checkpoints, located within like 1.5 kilo square meter, which is the heart of the city. So that's why is always Hebron have violence by the settlers and the army. There are no difference between the army and between the settlers and the army. We consider the settlers as second army in Israel, but without uniform.
So let me
But
you mentioned Flora. Let me bring Flora into this as well. You know, we at one point there were unarmed observers, international observers, who at one point decided to basically just leave because there was really the Israelis were making it impossible for them to function and to do their work. Tell us a bit more about your personal experiences with Israeli settler and army violence, and who is watching? Who's watching this? Who's reporting this to the so-called international community at this point?
Well, yeah, as an international group who work in Hebron, we share on social media and try and get it back to our countries as the incidents that happen. But with the soldiers and settlers, they sometimes, not always, of course, but sometimes they treat international people a lot better than Palestinian citizens, which means our role can be different. We can sometimes be a protective presence as an international person filming, because the Israeli soldiers, for some reason, will not be so aggressive towards international volunteers. So that is a role that we have. Of course, it doesn't always work, but settlers in Hebron are just so extreme, so deluded, and so it's settlers are in some ways, as Badee said, the same or more, even worse than the soldiers in some cases, because of course they are another army, and they often have control over the soldiers. The soldiers are there to protect apparently the settlers. So it's just a whole group of a double army.
Okay, and I want to talk about the capturing occupation video project. But before that, we have another guest that we did not announce, and that is Ahmed Abu Shamsiel. Now, some of you may know Ahmed Shamsiel, others don't, but I will remind those of you who do not. Ahmed Shamsiel is the courageous cameraman who took the footage of the execution of Abdel Fattah al-Sharif in March 2016, an issue that perhaps became one of the lead headline news from Palestine for many months, and really kind of exposed not just the Israeli army and their violence, but also the Israeli legal and political systems as well, because we saw what happened for the months and years that followed that event, of how Israel not only eventually absolved the murderer more or less, but also raised him to the status of heroes. So welcome welcome Ahmed, Afwan. And if you could just tell our viewers about that specific event. Why were you there with the camera? What happened on that day?
مساء الخير لكم جميعا.
Good evening for everybody.
طبعا أنا بسكن في تل رميدي.
So sure that I am live and based in Tel Rmidi area.
كانت تقريبا الساعة بين 8 صباحا 8 و10 صباحا.
This is event's been happened about 8 o'clock in morning.
وكنت أشرب القهوة أنا وزوجتي.
That time I was having the coffee with my wife.
وسمعت إطلاق نار.
So I heard some shooting coming from outside.
قريب من المنزل اللي أنا بسكن فيه.
It's been very close from my home.
فخرجت بسرعة وزوجتي لحقتني بالكاميرا.
So I went to find out what is going on, and my wife, she was following me and she brought the camera with her.
وأول ما فتحت الكاميرا شاهدت شخص على الأرض يرتدي جاكيت أسود وبنطلون أسود.
So the first time that I arrived to the street, I found that someone was lying in the street and he was wearing a black t-shirt and trouser.
وسمعت صوت آخر، وجهت كاميرتي باتجاهه فشاهدت شاب آخر يرتدي
So
جاكيت
why
سكني.
that time I was also heard, I watched another person who was also on the ground.
وشاهدت الدماء تخرج من وجهه.
So I moved my camera to capture him, and I saw that he was, his body was bleeding already from his face.
وشاهدت مجموعة من الجنود تتجه باتجاه الشاب الآخر اللي كان يلبس جاكيت أسود وبنطلون أسود.
So I have been watched that some of the soldiers been coming closely from the person who was already on the ground, and he was shooting, and he was close from me.
وعرفت انه هذا الشاب كمان فلسطيني لما احد المستوطنين ضربه ركله في رجله. عرفت انه هذا الشاب كمان فلسطيني ملقى.
I wasn't know that he was Palestinian only when I saw one of the soldiers, he had been kicked him by his feet, and I discovered that the one who was also in the street, he talked about Abdel Fattah Sharif, he was a Palestinian.
وعندما ركله تبين لي انه ما زال على قيد الحياة لانه حرك رجليه وحرك ايديه.
So after the soldier was kicked him, the Palestinian Abdel Fattah Sharif, he started to move his body by his legs and his hands.
وهذا اللي بتثبته الكاميرا كمان لانه الكاميرا صورت كل الاحداث اللي انا بحكيها.
I proved that by the camera when I was shoot videos, many videos for this is serious murder.
في هاي اللحظة بدأت زوجتي تقول حرام حرام يجب إنه نقدم له الإسعاف.
So that moment my wife, she started shouting and she was saying haram haram, and she tried even to help him.
التفت الجنود وعرفوا إنه إحنا وشافوا إنه معي كاميرا وبصور.
When the soldiers they were noticed she was shouting, so the soldiers they were attend and they found out they was in the street. Ahmed and his wife.
في هاي اللحظات تم طردي أنا وزوجتي من الشارع.
That time the soldiers they forced me to leave the street and they kicked me from the street.
وبدأت أبحث بسرعة على مكان آخر من أجل استكمال عملية التوثيق.
So despite of I go to my home, so I start very quick and very fast to find out another area that to continue my video.
فصعدت على سطح إحدى الجيران القريب من بيتي والحدث.
So I went to a roof of one of my neighbors.
وبدأت أوثق وبهاي اللحظات وصلت أول سيارة إسعاف.
So I am start to resume filming. This is an execution.
ووقفت سيارة الإسعاف بجانب المصاب الفلسطيني.
So I saw one of the Israeli ambulance. It's been arrived to the area, and this is ambulance being stopped near the Palestinian Badee Abdel Fattah Sharif.
ولكن في هاي اللحظات أشار الجندي إلى شخص ثالث على الأرض.
So one of the soldier he has been pointed another Palestinian who was also on the ground.
فوجهت كاميرتي باتجاه ضباط الإسعاف فتوجهوا وتبين لي إنه أحد الجنود الإسرائيليين مصاب وملقى على الأرض.
So I moved my camera in order to capture this is a person. So I found out that it was a soldier.
وبدأوا يقدموا له الإسعافات من أجل إسعافه بدون تقديم أي إسعاف للفلسطينيين الاثنين اللي هو القصراوي وعبد الفتاح الشريف.
So I make zoom in order to capture better image for this soldier, and it was likely he has been injured. And then the soldiers and the ambulances start to give him first aid and treatment, while they were denied to give any treatment or first aid for the Palestinians guys.
فوضعوا الجندي على حمالة نقالة الإسعاف ووجهوا فيه إلى سيارة الإسعاف، ووجهت الزوم باتجاه حتى أشاهد مدى إصابته، هو عايش هو ميت بتحركش. فتبين لي حسب الكاميرا إنه كان مصاب إصابة طفيفة جدا.
So as I said, that Ahmed, the soldiers they start to, and the ambulance men they start to carry him to the soldier and to put him in the ambulance. So the soldier was already stand, and that I make zoom by my camera to make people see that what is happening for the soldier, and what happened for him was a lightly injured, and as I said before.
ووضعوا الجندي في سيارة الإسعاف الإسرائيلية ويعني أرادت الالتفاف والخروج من المنطقة.
So the ambulance start to turn in order to leave the area.
وفي هاي اللحظات سمعت أحد الجنود يستعد لإطلاق النار.
In that moment, I heard one of the soldiers, he start to cocking his gun and to prepare his gun.
فشاهدت أحد الجنود يتجه باتجاه عبد الفتاح الشريف.
And that soldier he's become come very close from Abdel Fattah al-Sharif body.
وعلى بعد متر أو أكثر بقليل وجه بطلقته الأخيرة باتجاه رأس عبد الفتاح.
So when the soldiers has become like close about 1 meter or less or more, and then he pointed the gun in his head.
بدلا ما يقدموا له الإسعاف لأنه ما كان يشكل أي خطر على الجنود أو المستوطنين، ولكن يعني الجنود أو الجندي أطلق الطلقة النهائية فقتل عبد الفتاح.
So instead to give him a treatment of first aid, and he wasn't cause any dangers for the soldiers. So this is soldier, which is we found his name in the media area, that he shot him in his head.
في هاي اللحظات أحد المستوطنين أشار للجنود إنه في شخص واقف على ظهر السطح وبيقوم بعملية التوثيق.
So I was already filmed all this situation, and one of the settlers, he was already noticed me that I was filming, and he told the soldiers about me.
فأنا شاهدت أحد الجنود بيتجه بالاتجاه علي، فأغلقت كاميرتي وهربت من المكان.
So I was already finished my mission, and when I watched that settler was told soldiers about me, the soldiers, one of them, he turned and he pointed against me to leave the area. So I was already left the area.
وبشكل سريع قمت بتحميل الفيديو على صفحة تجمع المدافعين عن حقوق
So
الإنسان.
very quick, I went to our page, Human Rights Defender page, and I started to upload the video in our page.
وانتشر الفيديو بشكل سريع جدا على وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي وايضا على فضائيات.
The video after that disseminated and spread for very quick and very fast, and many people they were watch it already.
فكان الفيديو جدا يعني بثبت انه الفلسطيني يتم اعدامه بعد اصابته.
And this was one of our unique improved that we were proved that Palestinians have been killed in cold-blood way, because Israelis many times have been claimed that Palestinians they try to stamp the soldiers or the settlers.
Brother Ahmed, the word thank you is not enough to just convey how grateful we are for your courage and for doing the right thing despite the numerous odds.
يعني الشكر هو بده يكون مش لعماد، الشكر لتجمع المدافعين عن حقوق الإنسان اللي قدر يطلع بفكرة بتوثيق انتهاكات الاحتلال الإسرائيلي عبر كاميرا الفيديو ليثبت للعالم إن ما يمارس بحق أبنائنا وبناتنا داخل المناطق المسيطر عليها من قبل الاحتلال والاستيطان من الانتهاك اليومي الذي يتعرض له الطفل والمرأة الفلسطينية عبر الحواجز وداخل الحواجز، والاعتقالات والاعتداءات التي بشكل يومي نتعرض لها. ويمكن فلورا كانت من إحدى المتضامنات التي أتت إلى بيتي وتم اعتقالها من أمام بيتي.
So I just want to summarize because he has been taught many things, and the thankful is not related just for me. The thankful is related for the whole group of Human Rights Defenders organization. We are try to film everything, all the humiliation and violence which is Israeli occupation or settlers applied against the Palestinians inside the military checkpoints or outside the military checkpoints, when the Israeli occupation try to arrest people or to humiliate them and to murder them and to make this as crimes. And also Flora, she has been in my home, as Ahmed said, many times, and once she was being arrested when she was in my home, when she came to my home.
Very good. And I really kind of want to finish with talking a little bit about the capturing occupation, because of what Ahmed has said. I mean, it really comes to show you that the camera, is a weapon. in a sense. It's the weapon of people who have been marginalized and alienated and isolated and where their voices being muted throughout the years, and suddenly, the camera is now exposing all of these crimes and doing it in such a way that Israel and the Israeli propaganda machine did not really anticipate and did not prepare for. So I want to hear briefly from all of you, if that's all right, telling us about capturing the occupation project. Let's start with Flora on this one, and then we'll go to Raghad and we'll go to Badee.
Well, I think teaching the next generation of children how to protect themselves with a camera is so important, because there can be times where there's nobody else to protect a child from settlers or soldiers apart from themselves with their camera phone. And I remember actually the first time I met Badee and one of Badee's sons, Abdullah, who's a good friend of mine now. But I remember one of the first things he told me was that the camera is our peaceful weapon. And I thought that struck with me a lot, and he was 12 when he said that. And I think for something so, powerful from a 12-year-old really sums up the project of capturing the occupation and the importance of teaching children how to use cameras, how to edit their work, which is what their project does, edit online and disseminate online in the shortest amount of time possible.
Absolutely. And we've seen the work of Ahmed and the kind of impact that a simple footage can actually create and reverberate throughout the globe, really. I think the entire Israeli PR machine could not offset the damage of a single short video taken by Ahmed. Raghad, you are a journalist, and you also know the power of the camera, of being able to overcome so many obstacles created by the Israeli PR machine. Tell us a little bit more about capturing occupation camera project and your work in it.
Well, actually, capturing what Israeli do and what Israeli army settlers attacks against Palestinian is a way to archive, and a history without archiving, without documents, and capturing is one of the documents. It shows your story. It shows an evidence. If you wanted to go to the international law, you should show your archive. You should show your documents. You should have something to tell people and to show people in order to approve your narration, because we have Israeli narration and Palestinian narration. How can we convey our narration to international law, to other people in the world? Because people, actually, when I have been in Finland, people were saying like, no, Israel is a country of peace and they do nothing, and Palestinian are terrorist people. I was discussing with them, showing them documents, pictures, talking with them, discussing them. So capturing is a very important thing. And actually, not anyone can capture. People who live beside Israeli, people who live beside checkpoints, like Ahmed and Badee, like they have a very, very important document. Actually, when I see like the document that Badee and Ahmed have, I didn't see anybody else like according to my work, since I started work, have a very strong and powerful documents and photos, videos that show the real life and the real attacks. Even though people who are not closest to the checkpoints and people who are not closest to settlements cannot take like this kind of photo because of a confrontation, because of the checkpoints, because not anyone can pass to these places where is the clashes between Palestinian and Israeli happen. Also, like as I said, archiving the history. People without a history are nothing. A country without a history, country without documentation, it might be nothing. How can you approve your narration? How can you approve your existence, your struggles, your the attacks you faced by Israeli? How people should should expose Israeli attacks to the world, because people see, like in that days, people started to normalize the situation with Israel. People are protecting Israel. People are leaving Palestinians. Some people are leaving Palestinians away. In this way, we show that Israel is not a place of peace. Israel are attacking Palestinians. Israel are settling other people's lands, and many other violations that they commit against Palestinians.
Thank you very much for that, Raghad. Well stated. But yeah, I'm gonna finish with you, and we have many comments and support coming from all over the world for you guys and for the incredible and very courageous work that you do. And I thank you on behalf of all of our viewers, and you already know that. You know the great deal of love and solidarity that you have all over the world. I'm going to finish with you here, Badee. What is your message? What is your final message to people who are listening to us right now, and the people who will eventually get this message from you?
Okay, just let me to highlight some things very important to say before I go to the message. Why is Hebron is why is many videos it's coming from Hebron? The most humiliation videos you can watch it's coming usually from Hebron, mostly from Hebron. And broadly that I say that most of this is videos which is captured in Hebron, it's our work. And we have to think about the cameras. The cameras is very costly, and you are represent one of the cameras which is broken, because we have massive cameras been broken by the Israeli soldiers and settlers, and to replace a camera by this camera, it costs a lot of money, like maybe $500-600. And also, I want to say that we are start with a cooperation campaign that it's come by us as a human rights defender organization and ISM, International Solidarity Movement, and CBT, Christian Peacemaker teams, and also Collective Shepherds, in order and also Hebron Defense Committee, in order that to highlight about the situation of Hebron, and also to try that to make a petition which is sent to producer of America, and states that one of the American organization which is based in America called Hebron Funds, which is provided support and money for the settlers who are living in Hebron. So I come to your point and to your question. Our message here that our work is not easy work. It's our work. We are working in the front line. We are working in front of the settlers, in front of the soldiers. Just a few, sometimes centimeters, or sometimes a few meters, about far distance from them, and we are humiliated in our daily base life. Our homes been invaded by the soldiers many times, and we have been arrested many times because of the work which we are doing, and we are targeted by the Israeli soldiers in the military points, and also the settlers, and our names, it's become a well-known names for many settlers and soldiers, and we are become target. Despite all of this is dangerous situation, and this is risky work that we are doing, we are believe that our camera is our weapon. And you can see here, this is one of the workshops that we have been trained girls and also boys about how to use a camera to protect themselves and to show their life, to reflect their stories. For many years that the world have been asking the Palestinians to prove their stories, despite of we are victims and we living under the occupation, and we're suffering in our daily life. But we don't want to be just a victim. We are not just want to show up ourselves that we are victims. We are trying to break this image of situation that we are fighters for the freedom. And part of our work, we also organizing direct actions, demonstration, protest against the soldiers, against the settlements, against also supporting the Palestinians, the prisoners in their struggle also in Israeli jails. And this is one of the photos you can see that when we were leading a very big demonstration, about 2,000 Palestinians have been participated in this demonstration, which we call it a demonstration under the title "Dismantle the Ghetto in Hebron, Take Settlers Out of Hebron." And this is one of the campaign which is we are working with other partners. We do it every February from each year to highlight and to ask the people that to support, also to highlight the situation of Hebron and also to build more awareness about the situation of Hebron, because the Hebron situation is very unique, and what is going on in Hebron is not accepted by the international law. Israelis are applying collective punishment, which is illegally according to the international law. And also this is a closures area, and the Palestinians, they are not available for the peace and the freedom of movement, the childhood movement, the housing movement. When the soldiers coming to your home and they integrated your home, or they are riding your home and destroyed your stuff and you are furnitures, this is not also work and come with the human rights and the human and the housing rights, the childhood rights, the movement rights, killing outside of the law. All of this is laws, all of this is simple rights, which is announced and declared by the international law, is not actually available for the Palestinians, especially in Hebron, because we use Hebron, as I told you, that a micro example. The Israelis, they already succeed to transfer Hebron to be an apartheid museum, with a museum of apartheid. So the apartheid used to be connected with the South African people, and also what is going on in Ireland. So people, I have been visited Ireland, northern of Ireland. I have been visited also South Africa to learn about their experience. But after that, I found that the Hebron situation is a more complicated one, and the situation, what is going on in Hebron is not just apartheid, is deeper that to consider it as an apartheid. Even the South African activists who have been working and also fighting against apartheid in South Africa, they have came a delegation from them. They were fighting against apartheid in South Africa. Those people, they came to Hebron in 2009. After they are watching the situation in Hebron, they said the apartheid which is going on in Hebron is worse than the apartheid was been in South Africa. So that what is the importance of the camera, to reflect our stories and to expose the Israeli crimes and to tell the people, look what is going on. We're not exaggerating the situation. We just reflect it as the situation is, by our weapon, peaceful weapon, which is the camera, which is facing a soldiers. He one of the most armed soldier in the world by the modern staff of the army. Absolutely. And that's why we transfer this is culture for the students in the schools, which was the first time ever happened in Palestine. An organization start to teach students how to use the cameras and to protect themselves, to document what is going on in their schools, and will give them skills about the protection and legal law, international law, and Israel law. Tell these people they be aware, and we target about the family, the whole family, to train them. So we have about 20 cameras with 20 families now. We are distributed in the most hotspots areas in the area which is called H2 area, which is divided by the Israeli occupation.
But yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people want to learn more about this if they already don't know, but a lot of people I'm sure would like to learn more about this. And we are going to be providing links below this chat to people to go to your websites, to your social media platforms, and to learn more and to offer their support in any way they can. Badee, Flora, Raghad, Ahmed, thank you guys very, very much. Ya'tikum al-afiyah. We are very proud of you. Keep on with this incredible moral struggle for Palestine. And I am sure we are going to be meeting again, and we are going to be having another chat in the future, inshallah.
Sure. We are very happy. It's our pleasure to be with you in this chat. And we will be in touch, inshallah. Thank you for every people, for all the people who have been attend us in this is Winniver's Zoom meeting.
Thank you. And stay safe, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just very quickly, Romana, that was really incredible and inspiring, isn't it?
That was absolutely inspiring, and feeling the word, hearing these words is so encouraging too, because the victimization and the dehumanization that Palestinians were subjugated to was completely reversed by the words of Badee, and
Absolutely. And also that testimony by Ahmed Abu Shamsiel. Honestly, we were not even planning on it. We were happy to have Ahmed, but we kind of put him on the spot there. And he gave us the detailed testimony. Is something that I promise you, our readers in the Palestine Chronicle, that we are going to be transcribing it and we are going to be publishing it separately because I have not seen that testimony published anywhere regarding the murder, the cold-blooded murder of Abd al-Fattah al-Sharif in March 2016. So just quickly, we'd like to say thank you to all of those who joined us today. We are doing our very best to stay on the air and to bring you quality programmings, based on whatever resources that we have. And we are so lucky that we are joined by so many dedicated intellectuals and activists who are ready to kind of like overcome the obstacles of mainstream media and to talk to you directly. The Palestine Chronicle is 100% reader supported. So your contributions and your help is what keeps us going. So please go to our website and make a donation to the Palestine Chronicle if you can. Otherwise, help us by spreading our news, sharing our content, and just an occasional word of encouragement will also be nice. Anything else you would like to add, Romana?
Yes, I just want to, to tell our readers that there is an initiative that we launched especially to spread the words of Palestinian prisoners. You, Ramzi, dedicated a lot of work to Palestinian prisoners. And, the Palestinian prisoners are an essential element of that collective resistance that we talked about tonight. So for our United States readers who kindly want to support our work at the Palestine Chronicle, if the amount of their donation is $50 or more, we will send them, and they provide us with a US address, we're going to send them a signed copy of your book, These Chains Will Be Broken, Palestinian Stories of Struggle and Defiance in Israeli Prisons. That is really an important testimony of that collective resistance that Palestinian prisoners are experiencing.
Absolutely, and we will be dedicating a show to the book to talk about it and hopefully bring people to actually do some reading from the book as well. So thank you again, and tune in next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Palestine time. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.